It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. We intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
Mic check, mic check. Yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. I'm doing like so many things at once. What's up, y'all? Definitely don't want that playing in the back. What's up, y'all? Ask the news. It's good to see you. I'm doing 2 streams. I'm streaming to Facebook right now. And I'm so if you're on Facebook, yo, I don't have the chat pulled up for Facebook. I'm actually gonna close it out on my desktop. What up? Good morning. A lot to cover. I got a necklace hanging up here. A lot to cover. Plus, we got at least one confirmed call-in guest. We're gonna have Stephen Bowden. Stephen reached out not last night, night before last. Offering. After that very, very eventful city council meeting, Stephen offered to hop over and to just share his thoughts on, I guess, how he voted. Explain the vote for the bid and maybe other things. I want to have a more nuanced conversation. What up, Megsy? What up, Megsy? Good morning. I want to have a more nuanced conversation as it pertains to his decision making, and also too, I think, and this is more for me and less for people watching. I want to also, I spoke a lot about loving accountability and what that looks like. What up, little mama? Yeah. Good morning. Say good morning if you're here. If you're on Facebook, hey, this is our Facebook Friday preview. Real quick too, because it is a Facebook Friday, if the feed, sometimes the feed gets a little wonky when I try to do more than one thing, when I try to live stream to multiple platforms. So if we do lose transmission, please just come right back on Twitch. What up, D Bartlett? It's good to see you. Good morning, community. Good morning. All right, so yeah, so like I said, I want to walk the walk a little bit more with loving accountability. That doesn't mean letting elected officials off the hook, but what it does mean is that we have a healthier relationship than what I've seen publicly, a healthier relationship with our elected officials, and help us also manage expectations. By no means did I think that my support for Stephen, and I'm gonna imagine yours as well, it can't be transactional. Our relationships in general, I think a lot of times the way we engage with politics, we make it transactional, right? They come out, they donate, the candidate comes out, donates, or does a thing, and then we show up. It needs to be a little bit more thoughtful than that. Anyway, so Stephen Bowden's calling in at 8:15. 8:15. Good morning. If you're watching on Facebook, hey, I can't interact with you, but you can always leave comments on Facebook. I do not have multiple screens up. I'm not even going to try to play myself. But good morning if you're watching on Facebook. But the number one thing I really want to center today, as per the newsletter, as per also the what is it? The prompts, the notifications that pop up on your phone or in your inbox, letting you know that I'm live and what we're talking about. We're going to center yesterday's events regarding the Sutherland family and the Floyd family and the Arbery family, Nan, attorney Ben Crump, local pastor Nelson Rivers, local meeting, South Carolina organizers, Tiffany James, Nashonda Hunter, Miss Trudy Lucas. Like, I want to lift those names up, Marcus McDonald, those who all participated in yesterday's rally / press conference calling for justice for Jamal Sutherland. I'm gonna switch up real quick. All right, so so yesterday we watched a heartbreaking press conference, and like I said, I live streamed. Shout out to all y'all who watched live with me as I came back on Twitch at around 12 o'clock, around noon. Shout out to Fernando as well. Shout out. Shout out to Fernando as well. Fernando was live streaming. Fernando and Brandon. All right, we're live streaming, so we watched their feed together, and it was such an emotional day. And one thing I said during the live stream was, watch how our local media responds, and without fail. And I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna leave it alone because I want to focus on the content of what's there. What was said, and I want to focus on the content and the contours of the story that actually, after reading Caitlin Bird's piece, after reading Steve Garrison's piece online, because as you can see right here, I got the Post and Courier up. The Post and Courier did not print anything on the front page or within the print edition. They did not print anything about the rally in print. Even though this event happened this event took place at 12 noon, plenty of time for reporters to get a story in. Steve Garrison was there; he did cover it, but they only put that on the digital website. And let me just say this, right? Of course, right? I'm not right. Talk about managing expectations. Again, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna leave it here until I bring it up again. If you read Newspaper Wars, written by Sid Bedingfield, if you read anything, Race Beat, anything, if you read any really sound book or sound, you read any reflections on media in the Jim Crow South, even preceding the Jim Crow era, but if you read anything about how media operated, specifically during the Civil Rights Movement, the 1960s, 50s and 60s, one thing you'll learn in those books is that papers like Post and Courier, which has a storied history of disenfranchising, being used as a political tool, right? And you can argue that it's still a political tool, right? The way they kind of always throw their support behind the prosecutors, and the way they printed an opinion supporting Scarlett Wilson's blaming of Walter Scott for his own murder. The Post and Courier, their refusal to write anything about Harry Griffin and his organizing with the Proud Boys. It's still a political tool, right? It was very political not to print about the Harry Griffin story after he was caught on tape calling his peers a homophobic slur. So I say that to say the absence of the NAN rally on the front page or within the print edition is as part of a long held practice where if you underreport, right? So it's omission. It's not just printing lies. It's not yellow journalism. It's not libel. It's not any of that. It's the omission of stories. It's the omission of accounts that would give you, and I'm going to flip back real quick, that give you a better perspective as to how marginalized communities, what they're going through, the challenges they face, what's top of mind for them, right? All those things. So this was a concerted effort by the Post and Courier to diminish what happened. I also would say this: while the local news covered it, really just lackluster to me, in my opinion. Save for a couple. I think Caitlin Bird wrote a sound piece. I think she was way more comprehensive. But oddly enough, there was an outlet in Georgia that covered it way better. And I'm not trying to compare report. Like, I just felt like the article from Atlanta really covered the legislation. Now, maybe they were given, because we know that a lot of the lawyers and people involved in yesterday's rally/press conference, we know a lot of those folks do have reach in Georgia and Atlanta, right? So maybe they had a press advisory that they could pick up from and pick up. But I'm sure that the local press here was also furnished with press advisories in advance, well in advance of yesterday's press conference and rally. So the Post and Courier's decision to not print the story on the front page, to not even dedicate, I don't see it. I'm looking at the paper right now. I leafed through it. I saw the bottom. I see the local news. I'll flip through it. Let me do my due diligence. Let me flip through it. Local. Let me go to local news, because I swore I already did it though. We'll figure it out. But their choice to not print it on the front page, it was a hugely it's just a huge story. It's a national story. It was picked up by BNC, picked up by Roland Martin. It's picked up by other, hey, what's up, Kia? It's picked up by a number of other news outlets. And for them to just refuse to print it, they don't want to gin up any sympathy for these groups, right? And so that's the game. That's the game, and that's the goal. And I will say, while Stephen Garrison hit on all the major points, was a lot left on the bone. Stephen Garrison, for the Post and Courier, Stephen Garrison wrote about Miss Amy, and we got like 3 minutes till Stephen, y'all. Stephen Bowden's gonna call in 3 minutes. Steve Garrison, I searched because I read the article online, and then I searched for Amy Sutherland, the mother, her name. Nothing, not printed, not once in the Post and Courier story. Amy Sutherland, lean in and listen to me. Amy Sutherland, the mother of Jamal Sutherland, her name is missing from the Post and Courier story. That to me means that a very specific editorial decision was made, because we know that when Miss Amy Sutherland got to the mic, it was the most emotional, most gut-wrenching personal testimony from a local mother that I ever heard. And for the paper not to count that, not to include that. Now, Caitlin Bird included it. She included the scream that I also clipped. And I know some people are uncomfortable with the scream. I'm comfortable with this woman's genuine anguish, because this story will not get the love and the dedication it deserves. And I rather her, like I said to someone in my DMs, I rather her scream and let out all of that anger and that tension and that despair. I rather her scream being flanked by civil rights leaders and civil rights lawyers than sit there and be lied to and muzzled by a coke head, a coke sniffing, ambulance chasing Mark Pepper. You feel me? So I know when she's in company, when she's being held up by the black community. Oh no! I'm going to take all that raw emotion. So some people were uncomfortable with that outpouring of emotion. No, be uncomfortable with the lack of coverage and the lack of question asking. The one thing the Post and Courier did as well, outside of, missed the whole major federal legislation piece and the mental health legislation piece. They didn't even mention Mrs. Sutherland by name. Like the one thing they really missed was that emotion. So I'm gonna leave it there. We got Stephen Bowden calling in, y'all. Let me get my life right. Let me get my life right real quick and get ready for Stephen. Hold on one second. Let me get our graphic up. Right? Oh, I don't like it like that. Stephen, hold on one second. If he does call, hold on one second. Let me get I know what to do. Okay, shout out to the new follower. Appreciate you. Let's just go ahead and pop it. I don't like it in there. Okay. I'm gonna take the call, but I'm gonna say, Stephen. Oh, am I calling him? Hold up. Hey, Stephen, hold on one second. I'm setting you up first. One moment. Hold on. I don't mind y'all see the behind the scenes. It is what it is. Hold on one second, Stephen. I want to make sure we got your graphic up. Done. Oh, shit. Hold on one second. Pardon my French as well. Good morning for those joining me on Facebook. I cannot engage with you. I don't have the chat open, and unfortunately, the chat does not show up. In Twitch. So okay, I'm going to increase the volume. Stephen, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you great.
Oh, I hear you perfect. Good morning. First, let me give you a round of applause. All right, y'all. Okay. Good morning, Justin. Good morning, everyone who just tuned in on Twitch and on Facebook. Thumbs up in the chat here on Twitch if y'all can hear Stephen. Let me know if you can hear him okay. Stephen, thank you so much for first offering to come back on. You're always welcome on Mic'd Up. But I also want to say I appreciate you being forthright, because we had questions around the bid. But first and foremost, I just want to check in with you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's pretty surreal to be standing up there getting sworn in the other night. And then I was rewarded with a 5.5-hour meeting.
Yeah, I know. Welcome, baptism by fire for sure, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was intense, but we were locked in, and I'm sure you know that I live stream the more, I guess, the more livelier city council convenings. But first of all, we were rooting for you. We were so happy to see you. I haven't met you in real life, so like I guess I was commenting or remarking on your height. So it's but I say that because you are becoming more and more of like we're now engaging with you and we're learning who you are in all ways. But we were very proud of you. Also proud to, it was really great to see your wife. We see that you're expecting a little nugget coming in. Yep. Ooh.
Yeah, pretty exciting, and really, I just look tall because she's about 5 feet tall.
Yeah, okay, that'll change it for sure. But yeah, tell me how your first sworn in the city council first night there. Just real quick feelings on that.
So I will tell you what surprised me is, I'm a sports fan, so you hear about college quarterbacks going to the NFL, and they had all this success at college, but now in the NFL, the game moves really fast. I think that was sort of the case for me the other night, and I think it'll be that way for a little bit. Sometimes you almost forget to vote because it's kind of moving so fast, and everybody else there, immediately yells out, "Oh, second," or makes the motion second. And it just sort of happens all before you expect it. But I'll figure out some of the procedural parts of it. But I was really encouraged, I guess, by the amount of public participation there was, particularly from the clergy, from some college students who I think had organized really well and come out and shared their point of view.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed by the fact that there is this group out there spending money to spread lies about the Equity Commission, and it's really seeped into people's heads to the point that when I talk to them about the truth about that commission, they don't disagree with it.
Right.
They see the value in it. They fundamentally agree with basic fairness.
Right.
And they can see that some people have used this issue to divide us.
Yeah.
And then you hear as a reason to not move forward that this is divisive. Well, no, the people lying are divisive.
Yeah, absolutely. I was maybe not surprised. I don't know what the word is, but it was remarkable to see those literal outside agitators, or at least the effort of outside agitators manifest in the way of a very, very hardy protest. I'm being very kind right now, but it was discouraging to see that. And also got word during the whole meeting, the proceedings, I guess, got word that folks had difficulty exiting the building safely, and you just don't want to see that. Like as much hellfire as I call for, I don't call for destruction, I don't call for violence, and to see that type of vitriol or a lot of that energy outside was heartbreaking. It also was heartbreaking. I'm just gonna throw my little spin in there. It was not heartbreaking, but it was disappointing to see CPD not enforce the ordinance on some of the stuff I saw later with the news coverage. But I want to pivot now too. So we watched, this, and you and I have been in communication about. I tried to connect you with people who are very vocal about the bid, the proposed King Street bid. You did vote for the. Oh, I said I know I'm changing the order of things too. Just please. Since we're on city council, I just wanted to stay there. So I just want to acknowledge that I know you and I spoke about the order of things we're going to talk about. But I did want you to just take this moment to just share your thoughts about your decision-making behind the bid. I did get word from some other folks that there is ongoing conversation and there are efforts to bring more people to the table. There are efforts to talk to Mr. Somerville with the city about how to inform this policy and include more voices. I just want to ask, you voted for the bid. We weren't really excited about that. Talk more about your decision-making with the bid.
Sure. Let me just first say about the protesters outside. What their goal is to get attention and to make it so miserable for any good person to go into public service that we end up with a bunch of people who will implement the things that they want. And so I think it's important not to give them oxygen, and also certainly not to give them what they want, and just keep showing up and doing the hard work of making the city a better place.
That's real.
But on the bid, I think it's a complicated issue, and I thank you for connecting me with Joel, and for him reaching out to me to bring his perspective, some of the downsides, because it had been a pretty rosy picture, I think, that had been presented of the bid up to that point, at least certainly from the city's perspective, because the city's all in on this. And I think that there's good reasons for that. But I do think that there are some cons that certainly Joel brought to my attention, that I did some further reading over the weekend, and really, as I was thinking through this, trying to weigh out, the benefits and the costs. Ultimately, what I was satisfied with, and the reason that I voted for this, is that all we did the other night is set up a framework for this bid. We authorized it to go forward in setting up the management agreement with the CDA, the Downtown Alliance. So there's a lot more work to be done on this.
Yeah.
The details here are what are going to be key. And some of the big concerns I have, and really what I talked about with Joel the other day, were rising rents for small business owners. That's already happening. Certainly, we don't want to contribute to that. I was sort of heartened that a lot of the assessments are going to be less than $500 a year, and so that's not a tremendous cost for a business owner to bear. Not something that I think is going to contribute significantly to rising rents, but we will need to keep a close eye on that.
Yeah,
and there will be quite a bit of oversight from City Council on this. And so I think we've got to be careful about the rising rents, and we've got to be careful about this ambassador program.
Okay. Let me jump in and ask you a question.
Sure.
How do you feel about, like, are you not? You and I have never had a class discussion, but I guess the involvement of Ben Navarro's groups and his interests really, really are unsettling for me, and I know for a number of my followers. I mean, was there any reservations about some of the $1 million interest or $1 billion interests that are informing this policy, given the growth, given the onslaught of national chains descending upon the peninsula? Any type of any involvement by Ben Navarro and other very moneyed and powerful groups, does that give you any pause?
Sure. I mean, it always makes me nervous whenever government is doing something to, I guess, privilege the privileged. And I think that this certainly has the potential to do that. But we also heard from smaller business owners, restaurant owners on King Street, who are certainly not billionaires. I don't know how much they have in their bank account, but right. I know the sort of margins that those businesses can have. And I imagine they've had a very tough time over the last few years. So, you got to weigh the fact that certainly this is going to have a positive impact on the moneyed interest on King Street. But I'm not also at the same time opposed to rich people making more money.
Oh boy, that's where we part ways. But go ahead, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, as long as the rest of the city is getting some benefit out of this, and ultimately, my job is certainly to look after the whole city, but I also represent a smaller district of the city. Right.
Right.
So a lot of the question about this comes down to whether I think this is something that ultimately can benefit my district. And King Street is an economic engine of the city. Ross, I don't know how accurate this is, but Ross said the other night, Councilman Appel said that, King Street is our Boeing. And, we don't have that huge industry quite like North Charleston does with Boeing, or some of these other municipalities do with some of the other businesses that are coming up. But we do have King Street, and it provides a ton of jobs. It provides a ton of income for the city. It provides a tourist destination. It's somewhere for people who live in the city to shop. I walk on King Street every day, and so it's an important place to me. I think ultimately an important place to my district, even though it's not in my district. And so I did have to filter things through that lens as well.
Okay. Yeah. A number of people in the comments here, really, I'm going to urge you, like you said, you sound very receptive to feedback, and you know that I don't endorse crazy feedback or anything like that. So, I would encourage you when you do check in. Oh, Alvin, I was just about to talk to Alvin Johnson. I really do hope that you connect with Alvin Johnson. I don't know if you have already. But what I'm worried about is also that the bid is going to reaffirm this idea that King Street is unsafe. And this bid also specifically spoke to being a reaction to the protests of 2020. For me, that for me made it a non-starter, because what happened on 2020, the summer, May 30th, and I'm not trying to relitigate that this morning, but what happened there does not give the city license to then create all these ordinances where there's a lack of racial analysis, a lack of class analysis, at least in these interim stages or these early stages with this policy. So I think folks in the comment really, are really still kind of conflicted and not feeling the bid. But I am going to exercise a little bit of optimism. Again, I want to encourage you to reach out if you haven't already, or speak to Alvin Johnson, who was one of the subcommittee chairs with the Special Commission. And he focused primarily on economic empowerment and improvement. I just wanted to share my thoughts there. And Alvin, if you're listening, please, one day we're gonna have to schedule a call in for you, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on what took place. Stephen, I wanted to, when I reached out in the 11th hour, thank you for satisfying a last minute request. I did want to speak to you also because of the press conference rally led and facilitated by our local NAN chapter, that's led by Reverend Nelson Rivers, and there were other area activists present. Any thoughts or reflections on what took place and what the Sutherland family and the Floyd family and the Arbery families were collectively calling for from Solicitor Scarlett Wilson? Any thoughts on what took place yesterday?
Yeah, I'm glad that they have found somebody who will advocate for charges to be brought in this case. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that certainly somebody with the reputation and weight that Mr. Crump carries, hopefully can ultimately make something happen in this case. Bring some pressure to bear, and I'm glad they're keeping up that pressure. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have stepped out there and checked it out yesterday, but I was stuck in court. Yeah. But it's. Yeah, I'm glad they have an advocate that's on their side that, like I said, can bring the reputation that he brings. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel about, Scarlett and Attorney General Wilson are kind of standing firm? You feel like it might, I mean, anything's possible. That a lot of cases, they say no. Like they mentioned yesterday, like Ben Crump mentioned yesterday, it can be 11 months. It could be a year. People say no charges. I mean, what are your feelings on like possibility of getting some movement in this case?
I think I've been pretty consistent in my opinion that, that the request needs to be for the charges that can actually bring convictions at trial. Okay. So they should be out there asking for, reckless homicide, for assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. Charge these officers with those crimes, and you will get convictions because the video speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. Their actions were undeniably criminally reckless. Mm-hmm. They were undeniably likely to result in death or great bodily injury, with an extreme disregard for the value of human life, which is the standard for assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. Mm-hmm. So there's a number of charges that they could bring. Mm-hmm. They've only sort of been made to answer why they're not charging with murder. Right. And I think they know that they haven't answered that other question, which is why are other charges not being brought that aren't murder.
Yeah, I think you're right, and thank you for reminding me, because you empowered me to speak on the issue a little bit more thoughtfully. Was taking the conversation away from charging with murder to being more specific and figuring out what charges actually could stick, and what could also bring about what charges would likely bring about a conviction. And I think that that's something that we need to continue to find to lift up the specifics and specific outcomes that we want. Stephen, I want to say thank you so much for your time this morning. I got a lot to get to. That's the only reason why I want to end it here. Plus, I'm sure you have a lot to get to as well. Anything you want to leave with the folks? They still asking about the bid, and like how does he think? One question was how would you think that the King Street bid would positively impact? This was the question. How would the King Street bid positively impact your district, even though, again, it's not your district? King Street is not in your district, but do you think that there's a positive outcome for you specifically? I just wanted to read that question.
Sure. Well, it's sort of complicated, I guess.
I know.
Money, in my view, money is fungible. Not in my view, just in fact, money is fungible. And so, if we have a thriving King Street that is, that is attracting tourists, that is attracting locals, where money is being spent, and people feel, like it's easy to get to, like it's, that there's somebody down there with these, in the best possible scenario for these ambassadors, that somebody's going to show them, where to go and where the store is on King Street if somebody's not super familiar. If money is being spent down there in the way that we hope this will cause it to be, then ultimately there will be more money for my district for drainage solutions, which is ultimately what we need. There will be more money in the budget to pay city employees, and one of the crises that we are not talking about enough is that the city is not attracting employees in the way that the private sector is. We are just not paying a competitive salary, and the money's not there to do it right now. We're losing people to the private sector constantly. And so that affects the ability to do stormwater. That affects response times if you have a fire. That just across the board limits the amount of services that the city can provide. And that is being stretched even further with COVID. So there's those sorts of shortfalls, which are certainly affecting my district, particularly with the stormwater issues. And so ultimately, if we have a little bit more money to work with out of this whole thing, then that is a net positive for my district. Now, again, my huge concern here is this ambassador program. And you mentioned concerns about safety on King Street. Yeah. I don't necessarily share those, although there have been, some incidents up there that we can't deny. Right. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so in the best possible case for this ambassador program, it can merely be eyes and ears of a sober person making sure that, people coming out of bars are getting home safely, not having, sort of petty, not petty, but, robberies and, fights and this kind of stuff. I think that could go a lot further than, what they did banning like food vendors before I got there. Right. So there's an optimistic case and there's a pessimistic case, and I will be staying on the details of this. And then ultimately, once the details are worked out, walking King Street every day and seeing how it's working out in practice. Yeah. I figured that I use the term deputizing folks to police, perhaps the houseless and whatnot, to help the housing insecure. That I figured like that aspect would kind of pique your interest, given that you are a public defender. I'm going to be looking at the ambassador program as well. I'm going to say this because this is a real hot topic, as I'm seeing in the chat, and I'm not running away from it. I just want to make time for the central theme of today's live stream, which is the Sutherland family and Nan's efforts to get justice. But I will say this. We got any coffee with Stephen or, breakfast with Bowden town halls coming up? I think that's a great way to engage a thoughtful constituency and people who are rooting for you and wanting to support you and show up for you, not just
just on election day, but in other ways as well. You have any thoughts on any engagement? I know you're not the mayor. But still.
So I've actually been thinking a ton about this, how to engage my community in my decision making, how to engage, sort of the broader community. And one way is I'm going to have. I started this during the campaign, but I called it Brews with Bowden. That way it could be beers or coffee. And so I'll be doing some happy hour events, maybe some Saturday morning coffee events, just making myself available. But feel free to. I'll shoot you my city email, and feel free to distribute that.
Okay.
If anybody ever wants to just. I'm downtown every day. If anybody ever just wants to get coffee or something with me, let me know. I'm happy to talk. I ran through this for a reason, and even if it's only for 4 years, to make myself sort of radically available. That's what I plan to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. And of course, we want to lead. I'm definitely going to encourage my followers to engage you thoughtfully, and especially making yourself accessible. That was a huge thing that came up during the live stream, Stephen, was folks wanted to make sure they can reach out. And if they wanted to call Seekings, if they wanted to speak with Gregory, if they wanted to speak with Waring, sometimes it's very difficult to reach their elected officials. So the fact that you say that you have an open door policy, essentially, I think that would bode well. And like I said, I can go back and forth with you all day, but I think we got your stance on a lot of these issues, and that's the most important thing. But we're going to keep engaging and pushing you on this issue. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna keep pushing you on this issue, and just pushing you to make it better, to you do what you can do with within your power, within the scope of your power. We're going to continue to hold you accountable in that regard. How's that sound?
That works for me. I always need a good push.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having the courage to come back on this live stream. I appreciate you coming back and answering some tough questions, but we're going to keep having tough questions as well. But I want the conversation to remain productive. And so that's what we'll facilitate here on Mic'd Up.
Sounds good.
All right, Stephen, thank you so much for your time and have a great day.
All right, you too. Have a good weekend.
All right, peace. All right. Yeah, I want to say thank you again. Right. Yeah, we just got like one reason why I'm working on it, y'all. I'm working on being more thoughtful and more forthright in my back and forth. A lot of that is due to preparation. Like I should have. It was a Hail Mary request at literally 7 something. Like, hey, can you come on now? Can you call? After I was pouring over all the reporting from yesterday, I really wanted to have a public defender on, but I'm working on that. So if you felt there was a level of spiciness missing, it's not so much that I want to be antagonistic or spicy. I really do want to facilitate. I do want to hold space for generative conflict. Right, conflict is not inherently negative, but I also want to. I don't want to be what JT Bessinger is doing. I don't want to be what James Tyler Bear Spray Bessinger is. I don't want to be like what mainstream media is. I do want to have thoughtful conversation with those who we elected and we pushed into power. Our relationship with Stephen is going to change. It has changed already, right? He's an elected official. So now it's about accountability. And remember, he works for us, and not saying that literally, I'm not creating a hierarchy. I'm actually just trying to help you understand the dynamics that should exist. Right. So, he should act, with the will of the people in mind, and not just this group. Right. Like he said, he's not just he's not just a council rep for his district or for one kind of Charleston. So he has to juggle a couple things there. I get that, right? We want him to become politically successful because we need a Stephen Bowden on city council. At that being said, though, we know enough about these bids and we know enough about the interest behind the bid and what they've done over the last 20 years to accelerate the growth that we see in the displacement of not just Black people, Black homeowners, but I mean, we're seeing ramifications in our education system. Burke High School, they have dwindling enrollment, even though they're right up against Wagner Terrace. Shout out to AJ Davis for making that clear to me, right next to one of the wealthier areas in Charleston, yet that school is failing and attendance is dwindling. We're seeing the outcomes of an all-in strategy, an all-in response to tourism, or an all-in commitment to tourism at the risk of, or at the detriment of a large swath of residents. And thank you, D. Bartlett, residents and students and so on and so forth. Yeah, I appreciate y'all asking tough questions. Alvin, we're gonna have you call. I want to make you a graphic, and I also want to give you time to prepare. But Alvin, I really wanted you to really, when I do ask you to call in, maybe after MLK Day, if you have time or capacity or desire, I wanted you to speak to, like, how do we get in that room and inform this policy? How do we make sure that you use the word "R" in quotations earlier in the chat? How do we make sure that everyone's interests are being lifted up or being centered? I think that's really important. So again, thank you, Stephen, for joining us. Last minute call. I hope that doesn't come off as being disrespectful to people, but I mean, I've seen how real newsrooms work. And we're in a time within media. We're in this place within media where news moves so fast, and traditional media just can't keep up with it. And I think I'm starting to feel it here on this end. Let me look at the chat. Good morning, D. You missed Steven. That's okay, but you can go back. I started at 8:15, so if you do go back, I'm not demanding it, but if you do go back, just start at like 15 minutes in. And we speak to Stephen there. Lot of tough questions, a lot of tough answers, tough for me to hear. But we're gonna keep this door open. And I love the fact that Stephen is accessible. That's what you really, I mean, I don't know what y'all top values are in terms of elected officials, but accessibility is top 5 for me. Justin Kirby, I said your whole government. Justin. Oh, did you know Cam Reddish got traded to the Knicks? My Knicks is gonna be legit in a minute. All right, Justin, you said in the chat, what was the book that came up in the interview with? Oh, you read my mind. Look at you, friend. Look at my friend reading my mind. Let me see. Oh, Just City, right? Just City. I'm trying to find the Katie's dissertation. Oh, she did definitely. She used critical race theory. I caught that so late. I'm like, oh shoot, she used critical race theory to talk about. So Katie Dudley, y'all, for those who don't remember, Katie Dudley, a friend of the show. Shout out to her husband Phil. Katie Dudley. Let me look at my hard drive real quick, y'all. Katie Dudley is out there in California now, and she studied like tourism, and she her thesis. Now, her dissertation or her thesis? Her dissertation, what? I'll get it straight in a second. She wrote about New Orleans and their tourism, and she made an argument for sustainable tourism. This is the type of scholarship that I want Stevens and whatnot to look at. There are sustainable ways to go about tourism. There are sustainable ways to go about supporting that economic engine that is tourism. You have to, and I would argue, and I would I guess like plead to people like Stephen, like, please, like, add a racial lens, a race analysis to your decision making, because you can't make decisions based on just like your own lived experience as a white guy in Charleston. You have to actually look at this a little bit more nuanced. I can't find it real quick, but Just City was one, and it was a Just City. Oh, and The Tourist City. That's another book that I stole from my friend Lauren. Shout out Lauren. Right before the pandemic, she left it on her front porch, and I was like, I have held it hostage. This was like since like 2 years ago. So The Tourist City and A Just City. Please make sure you, like, those are like textbooks, but they really help you understand the issue. And also Katie had her dissertation. I gotta find it. I can't find it right now. It might be in Google. It might be in Google. Let me see. How come you can't? I hate when that does it. It might be in my Google Drive. But let's get back. I want to also get back to good morning to everyone who just joined. Welcome to Mic'd Up. Welcome to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, mikagadsden. We're talking about today. We want to hold space for and talk about. Let me just search this real quick because I'll share it with y'all like via link. Let me see. Damn. Oh. Oh, I know where it's at. Hold up, y'all. Bear with me. Because I really do want to read the beginning of it real quick and then move back to the Jamal Sutherland, the NAN facilitated rally that took place downtown Charleston yesterday. So let me just do this. I need a co-producer so bad. It ain't even funny. And also, I bear the lead. Katie studied at Clemson like Jacova. Like Jacova. Here we go. So look. This is what Katie says right here. Finally finished her edits on her dissertation. Right, this is back in July of 2019. While this isn't the published version, she said she wanted to pass it on. So these are the things. This is a summary she provided for me right here. So in the dissertation, it says Chapter 4, History of Constructing Tourism Workforce. Number 2, the Chapter 5, her second biggest issue within there is disaster capitalism in tourism destinations. This is a white girl, y'all. I just want you to know this is a white girl, y'all. This is a white girl. White people, y'all can do it if y'all want. Y'all can do it if y'all want, right? A lot of the issues that we're facing with even including the Sutherland family is all about white political will and what we saw at City Council, white political will, right? People who have access to privilege and to decision-making power, not leveraging that decision-making power to create better outcomes for Black and brown people, right? And the third chapter that she emphasized was counter-narratives to tourism narratives, okay? So yeah, this is the abstract. Let me make it a little bigger. Thank you, Justin. You read my mind. So this is the abstract. Informed by critical race theory. Come on. This is 2019, y'all. 2019. Well, before that, she wrote this before that, but you got me. Informed by critical race theory and critiques of neoliberal capitalist tourism development, this case study explores the ways in which social, cultural, economic, and political factors shape the tourism workforce. This is in New Orleans, shape the tourism workforce and lived experience of tourism workers. It is driven by the following overarching question: how do social, cultural, economic, and political factors affect tourism workers in New Orleans? And 3 sub-questions. How have historic socio-cultural, economic, and political institutions shaped the structure of tourism workforce? Because what Katie did, I talked about this with her in Rare Bit and in a Mic'd Up interview, right? So we're chilling in Rare Bit, and she's talking to me about how when you work in tourism in cities like New Orleans, but specifically in New Orleans, how they are basically like held captive within an area. So like there are all these restrictive curfews outside of the French district, right? French Quarter. And so like there's curfews as to how many, the Black communities that exist outside of the tourism district, right? They can't move freely. There's all these strict curfews and restrictions on movement, and they use safety as like Trojan horse. And then also like the Black people exist only to serve, only to work in these tourism districts. So she talks about that. And in our interview, we talk about like sustainability, like what does that look like? Not eco-sustainability, but like there are ways to have sustainable tourism cultures in other countries. We've seen that, right? Where they protect the community, they protect character, they protect the environment. You know, we don't see that in Charleston either. Charleston is, I never will understand why a coastal city that's already below sea level doesn't go all in on a type of tourism that centers like environmental sustainability. I'll never understand why they choose to keep dumping into their marshes and filling their marshes and dumping on Black neighborhoods. I don't know why they keep doing that and not leading the way in like environmentalism in terms of that having a place in this conversation, right? Okay, so yeah, this is a really interesting dissertation, right? And she made some. It's just really thoughtful, and I think I know I always compare Charleston to Miami, but Charleston, Miami, and New Orleans got a lot of parallels, like a lot. All right, let me see what y'all saying in the chat, because I know I've been abandoned in the chat. Let me go back up a little bit. Up. Okay. Ooh, Joy, you had something spicy to say. I love it. Love it. Joy, you said it benefits him as a councilman. You talking about, his decision, the bid it benefits him, the councilman, Stephen, to get feedback and perspectives from his constituents. Great job this morning. Thank you, Joy. I'm gonna get more prepared though. I want to have prepared thoughts and that don't just look like digs. I'm not trying to get a soundbite from Stephen. I really want to get a thoughtful response and also want him to understand, more importantly, understand what we're thinking, because that's important. Justin, you asked a question. Okay, you already answered the question. Everyone was respectful. Cool. Yeah. Yep. April, thank you. You made a comment about being accessible. All right, now I'm gonna fast forward down. Let me see. Kia, you've been saying some things. All right, Golden State Warriors, yeah. No, they in a slump. It's just a slump that everybody goes through. It's 80-something games a season. They're going to bounce out. They got too much firepower in terms of shooting. They're going to bounce out of that. Golden State is going to bounce back. I can't wait. They're going to make it spicy for the playoffs. All right, D, you said something. You said you saw that they're going to turn the old Navy Yard into luxury condos. So I've been engaged on that as well. And I've gotten some lawmakers wanting to engage me early, which usually means there's some bullshit shoes about to drop. No shade to the rep that reached out to me. But I'm looking forward to that conversation, especially after what I endured on at the Urban Electric event that was in that area. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Miami with water, NOLA with the racism. Shit, NOLA with the racism and the history of trafficking, kidnapped, and exploited Africans. You ain't never lied, D. You ain't never lied. All right. Okay. Justin, you said examples like this help you understand the basics of political economy. Examples like what Katie with Katie's dissertation. Justin, I'll probably give you the link too, because I think you'll really get a kick out of this dissertation, especially her use of critical race theory before it became a boogeyman. It's just so, I can't believe I missed it because I read it so long ago. And when I went back, I said, oh, sure, yeah, she was using critical race theory. Go ahead, Katie. You a real one. All right, so let's go to back where I started. Good morning to everyone who just joined. But this morning where I started was, of course, Post and Courier choosing to willfully omit yesterday's biggest news, which was the NAN-led. Let's go to YouTube and just get the news. And I'm gonna show you coverage from other areas. And again, comparing reporters to other reporters, comparing papers to other papers is not the science I want y'all to use, right? That's not what I want you to do. But what I do want you to do is observe the differences in coverage from other markets, from other people, from other voices, because I think that will really be instructive. So let me give you some local coverage that we saw regarding now shout out to the ABC News 4. It's a Sinclair station, WCIV News 4, but they were, I think, among the only, I found the entire press conference. Now shout out to Fernando covered the press conference, from front to back. So we use his live stream, but good morning, Jessica. But Channel 4 actually published or posted the entire press conference, and I might just use it out of expedience to zip through things. So Channel 4 did that, but let me get to the story from local news. And I've been wanting to go to the whole schools going virtual stories, but I just really couldn't. Okay, so this should be it right here.
The family of Jamal Sutherland, an inmate who died last January after being tased several times at the Alcana Detention Center, say that they've been failed by Ninth Circuit Solicitor Scarlett Wilson and the justice system. They are demanding charges be brought against the officers who were involved in their son's death.
Oh, Quadro's still here.
Was joined by the families of George Floyd, Jamal Arbery, and Dante Wright for a news conference this afternoon. News 2's Riley Benson was there, joins us in studio.
Hold on, I'm going to read this comment from Quadro. Quadro said that look at the area in North Charleston, near North Charleston High. The entire corridor that runs along the river has been master planned for high-end commercial, shout out Top Golf, high-end commercial and residential development. He knows of what he speaks, y'all. Quadro's battle tested. Quadro, I just want to say thank you for being in the community, because I gave you hell. And anyway, I can be an asshole. Okay, Brandon, you said good morning. Yup, tune in at the right time. Yeah, you missed Steven, but I would have loved to hear your thoughts on Steven's interview at 8:15 if you ever go back to it. So, yeah, but let me let this play.
So, Riley, they are calling for accountability and answers more than a year later.
Yeah, Brendan Cohen, it was certainly an emotional press conference as Jamal Sutherland's family is increasing their demand for justice, claiming solicitor Scarlett Wilson has lied and failed their son. The group says it's time for the family's day in court.
Do the right thing.
If your coverage didn't include this moment, your coverage is bullshit, straight up. And then Post and Courier, you didn't even print Miss Amy Sutherland's name. Steve Garrison didn't. I don't know if he put it in there and the editors took it out, right? And this is the game they played, y'all, for years. I'm telling you, they did it with Septima Clark. Don't print any stories on Septima Clark losing her job, losing her pension at a ripe old age. Don't do that because that's going to gin up sympathy. The fact that they didn't even in the digital edition, I'm gonna go back and y'all. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna go back and search the document with you, the story written by Steve Garrison. Not once did I see Amy Sutherland's name in that piece. And if it didn't include this moment or this mother's heartbreaking scream, then your coverage is woefully incomplete. And I'm being polite when I say that.
Can't take this anymore. We have to get justice.
The Sutherlands, families of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Dante Wright, and attorneys calling Sutherland's death a conscious and reckless decision that could have been stopped.
They should have took Jamal out that cell and entered them into the same cell.
In any other city, her calling the prosecutor prejudice, her yelling, in any other city, that would have been the headline news. Shout out to the state paper for putting it on the front page. We won't get to it.
Voted him in.
Attorney Ben Crump wants successful guilty verdicts in the deaths of Floyd, Arbery, and Wright, says it's time to charge the officers responsible in Sutherland's death.
Look at Dante Wright being killed. Look at Ahmaud Arbery being killed. Look at George Floyd being killed. And then look at Jamal Sutherland being killed. And ask yourself, what's the difference?
Crump says the video of Sutherland's death paired with the evidence should be enough to move the case forward and is calling on state leaders to get involved.
We want the officers to be able to have their day in court too, but we want Amy and Deacon Sutherland to be able to have their day in court.
The Sutherlands claim they've been lied to by solicitor Scarlett Wilson throughout the investigation. Our hopeful extra voices, including George Floyd's brother, will turn the tide.
Miss Amy Sutherland, I don't see how she's here, but I'm standing here for her.
The group plans to take the fight to Columbia, asking Attorney General Alan Wilson for a special prosecutor while legislators work to pass the Jamal Sutherland Act.
And I miss not being able to buy him presents.
I didn't mean to get distracted. I'm sorry. I see the chat come up a little later, so I'm not smiling at what's going on. Just want to clear that up. It's juggling two things at once. Texting somebody who don't know that I live stream every morning at 8, trying to show them like this is what I do every morning. Stop asking me what you doing. Certain people. All right, sorry. I got a little distracted.
I miss my son.
Mm-hmm.
An emotional day ending on a somber note.
Happy birthday, happy birthday.
And so that part right there, that part really made my heart like.
Now, Charleston County Sheriff Kristen Graziano issued a statement this afternoon calling Sutherland's death a tragedy.
We're gonna get to that.
Her agency is taking steps in the aftermath to prevent similar tragedies at the Alcannon Detention Center. Reporting live in studio, Riley Benson. Count on 2.
Right. Shout out to Riley Benson.
The family of Jamal Sutherland
Yeah, shout out to Riley Benson. He was there reporting it. So let me just show you the headlines again. Here's a comparison. So this is the front page of the Post and Courier. Right. So up here, sometimes I miss this little top banner. I don't know what you call this one above the masthead. But anyway, national news here. Justice. Now this is a very important story here. The justice investigation for the feds are investigating group homes, right? But then you get here to the bullshit. This didn't have to take up this much real estate on the front page. This was just one of those. Again, the Post and Courier wants to be the USA Today of local boutique hotels here. So when the visitors come and grab their complimentary copy of the Post and Courier, they're not tuned into what's going on here. They do at least put something, an update regarding the January 6th South Carolina resident tampering with witness tampering. Shout out to A.V. Wilkes. They got that story on the front page. director of teachers group to run for state schools chief. That story is important. We're going to follow up on that. There's a story also about the Demar Vesey statue. But yeah, so that's the Post and Courier front page. This is the state newspaper. All right. Shout out to Caitlin Bird, who writes she's on the Charleston beat. So Caitlin Bird she took pictures. She was there. She asked a question. She asked that one question that got on my nerves. Fernando put me on, let me know that was her that asked that question. All too often we focus on the grief of the mother, the grief of the family, the grief, the black trauma, and the press corps typically doesn't like to question the system, call to the system. And I will say that some of the most thorough reporting on this story and dogged reporting has come from Caitlin Bird. Shout out to Caitlin Bird, trying to get her on. I don't know. A lot of the media corps just kind of froze up on me. I used to get them on mic'd up all the time, but anyway, we'll see. We'll figure it out. But Caitlin's piece was really thoughtfully prepared. But look at this, the front page of the state newspaper, and this is Columbia. So Columbia, Richland County in the Midlands has so much news, got a storm coming, but yet they prioritize this story. And so why is it that, the quote unquote most historical, we apologize for slavery, we took down Calhoun. Why can't you give this story, Charleston, the respect it deserves in terms of publication? The people that knocked it out, the outlet that knocked it out the park ain't gonna hold you. ABC News 2 in Atlanta. This is Michelle, is it Liu? It's spelled Liu. Somebody keep me honest in the chat. Michelle, is it Liu or Lee? I'm assuming it's Liu, right? So this story right here was on point. This story covered it on point. But I want to go back to the Stephen Garrison story. I want to go back to, let's go to the Post and Courier, right? This is Stephen Garrison, and look at this headline too. I don't like the headline either. Shout out to Steve. Steve is cool. George Floyd, but this is not it. George Floyd family and others join the Sutherlands. Like that's even a throwaway headline. Feel me? And I'm gonna get you back in the chat. Bossing Say Times. Shout out to all my Avatar people, Avatar fans. So this is the article, y'all. I'm gonna use the find feature to find whether or not they mention Miss Amy's name. Oh, you hear that noise? Do y'all hear that? So when I type in the word Sutherland, right? You see how it lights up? Y'all know how this works. I'm just being silly. I'm doing this on purpose, right? Y'all know how to use find on in your browser and shit like that, right? So that was that. Amy, right? I'm gonna do Amy again. Nothing. So you mean to tell me you wrote a whole piece on what took place yesterday downtown? You don't even include the mother's name in the whole piece? But you focus on the men for some reason, the brothers of, and rightfully so, like they deserve, they came down here, they flew thousands of miles. We want them, we want their names in print. We want their faces featured. But tell me how that makes sense. You got James Sutherland, which is cool, but Miss Amy's, her comments, her response, that was the story. Right? Let me look at the chat. Here we got Quadri said the sheriff could have arrested the officers and fired them. The police lock up people all the time. And Quadro, Stevens talked about that. It could have been a number of other charges that were not murder, but like, what was it? Reckless? I got to go back and listen to the exact framing. But there were two other counts that Stephen Bowden lifted up at the 8:15 mark. We talked about it really quickly at the 8:15 mark. If you go back and listen or watch, he talked about the lesser charges that could have been used rather. Hold on one second. Could have been used, but they chose not to, right? They chose not to, right? Oh, okay. Lou, okay, I got you. Lou, I got you. Hey, Susan. Hey, Susanna. Good morning. It wasn't, but okay. Yeah, it wasn't a reckless homicide or assault and battery. You got to break that acronym down. Assault and battery, ABHAN. What's that? We're laymen. We don't have a law and order degree. Assault and battery though. But yeah, reckless, like Stephen brought up reckless homicide. Okay, assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. Absolutely, that could have been brought, but they won't bring those up. They keep, like Stephen said during the call, they keep saying that we don't have grounds for murder. We don't. Well, there are other charges. There are other charges you can bring that aren't murder, that aren't like, and also the coroner found it was homicide. It was homicide, right? So what? I don't understand. If they found it was homicide, then what? I don't understand. So here's some other coverage from BNC News regarding the story.
The family of Jamal Sutherland, a mentally ill black man who died in police custody, is still seeking criminal charges. Last January, Sutherland was repeatedly stunned and kneeled on by jail deputies until he stopped breathing. According to Ninth Circuit solicitor Scarlett Wilson, despite the poor training techniques, the guards could not be charged because there was no proof they intended to kill Sutherland.
So look, you hear what Mark Lamont Hill is doing here for BNC, and y'all know he's a noted abolitionist. You hear how they're framing the story? We don't want propaganda. We want the framing to be on what the solicitor is not doing. Her inaction is the story. Her inaction, her stubbornness, and her refusal to follow, and I hate to call it a trend, but follow the I guess the model behavior of other areas, of other prosecutors' office, other solicitors or whatever. I know everyone doesn't have a solicitor, but like she's not following the lead of other people who have demonstrated courage. Like, you know what? We got to hold these people accountable, and we gonna have to do it. We have to go back. We have to go back to her opening arguments with the Walter Scott case. It is alleged that her heart wasn't in it. Appearances indicate she was trying to throw the case because she didn't want to be hard on crime. She didn't want to be hard on law enforcement. Yet, a gentleman that broke glass on a police car is getting 18 months plus 36 months of probation, or a supervised release rather, once he gets out. That's years and years of jail time for breaking a police car window. But someone who takes the life, Scarlett, deputies who take the life of a mentally impaired, a man in mental health, let me not say mentally impaired, a man in mental health crisis, you won't even bring charges. Let them have their day in court, right? Right? Like, come on.
Today, a news conference demanding justice was held by
I got you, Susanna.
Family, along with civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump and relatives of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Dante Wright.
We have video evidence.
It's the story
of the torture. That's right. We have video evidence of the lynching.
Yes, sir.
He should, Quadro.
We have video evidence of the inhumanity.
Maybe that's the goal. Okay, so they just stop it right there. I hate when they do that abrupt stuff. Cancel. All right. It just be real abrupt, but I understand they pull from a larger show and make clips. That's what I'm looking for, an editor that pulls from my live stream and makes clips. But we're going to get there. I want to go back to the print story. So I'm not even going to read Stephen Garrison's story. It's just kind of like, okay, get the story out kind of thing. Again, I don't know how much the editors influenced that story, but let me just read from ABC News 2, WSB, right? This is their web edition. All right. This is Atlanta based. Okay. And you said Lou, right? Like, yeah, you Lou, like boo. Okay. So Michelle Lou wrote it. Thank you for keeping me honest. All right. The family of a mentally ill black man who died after South Carolina jail employees repeatedly stunned him. And look, not many stories open out like this. Not many stories open up like this. This is the framing, y'all. This is important. This is not propaganda. This is the truth. I will compare stories. Hold up. Let's compare how some of the other ones open. Let's just do it real quick. All right. Shit. I hate this thing sometimes. All right. Okay, so Caitlin Bird kind of goes the JBH route, kind of painting the picture. Theater of the mind type deal, right? Standing in the courtyard outside the Charleston courthouse, Amy Sutherland, thank you for saying her name. Amy Sutherland said she had to do it, then she screamed. Perfect starting point for me. Pointing up to the Ninth Circuit Solicitor Scarlett Wilson's office, the grieving mother wailed, "Scarlett, do the right thing." Come on, Caitlin. Good job. Let's go back to Steve's piece. Let's see how Steve opened up. I'm gonna do this, y'all know this is part of it. Media literacy is part of what I do. It's not just fight the power and Black Lives Matter. So this is it. Family members. Look. This is how Steve opens up. Family members of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Dante Wright. Say everybody name first, right? family members of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Daunte Wright, 3 black men whose violent deaths in recent years have caused a national reckoning over racism. Boo, right? Call for justice in the jail death of Jamal Sutherland a year ago. Family members appeared in a news conference, just out the gate, just wax sauce, right? I'm being real. That's what it is. Let's go back to WSB, ABC News 2 in Atlanta, scooping the fuck out of Post and Courier. How you get scooped by? Get out of here. All right. Again, the family of a mentally ill black man who died after South Carolina jail employees repeatedly stunned him and kneeled on his back until he stopped breathing is still seeking criminal charges. Relatives for Jamal Sutherland have repeatedly asked South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson to consider prosecuting. This is it. This is the other part that's important. What's the ask? They're not just out there just crying and wailing, right? Relatives for Jamal Sutherland have repeatedly asked the South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson to consider prosecuting the Charleston County guards who restrained Sutherland shortly before his death, but his office hasn't taken action. Taken action, said attorney Carl Solomon at a news conference on Thursday. Ninth Circuit Solicitor Scarlett Wilson had announced last July that the jail deputies would not face charges due to their poor training. Scarlett Wilson called the deputies' actions damning, but said she couldn't prove that the guards intended to kill Sutherland. You don't need to prove that. You need to prove that they acted recklessly. You need to prove that it's assault and battery at a high and aggravated nature, right? Anyway, so the guards intended to kill, said she couldn't prove that they tried to kill him. Who at the time was refusing to go to his bond hearing, right? So out the gate, this is just a stronger piece. We don't have time to go over the whole thing, but shout out to ABC News 2. Shout out to Caitlin Bird. Post and Courier, we see you. We clocked you a long time ago. We clocked you back. John H. McCrae. If you ever wonder what this background is on my screen, this is a copy of the Lighthouse and Informer, formerly the Lighthouse of Charleston, but he got ran out of Charleston. John H. McCrae used to be the editor of this paper. You see his name scrawled up here in writing. I scanned this and downloaded this, the Lighthouse, and it's a story about Mother Emanuel over here, how black pastors and whatnot or black leaders were being called out by the Reverend Mother Emanuel. Back in, what year is this? 1952, called out for selling out black people. Right, so I keep this as a reminder to myself about the people been calling for justice for so long, and that's why I keep this up here as a reminder to me, is like my totem that I have to that tethers me to what I'm trying to really do here, and it just, again, from the 50s, people been calling for change, calling for justice, calling out the bullshit for a long time. For a long time. What I want to do is go to the press conference. Again, I'm only going to ABC's coverage because they're one of the few people that have it all together in one lump sum on YouTube. I want to fast forward to the question and answering, specifically around, because we asked, remember we dropped the question for Fernando. Is this it? Let me see if this is it. Because when he hands, that's it. Because Fernando jumped in there. Let me tell you something, Fernando. I don't know what kind of sneakers you were wearing yesterday, friend. I don't know what kind of sneakers you were wearing yesterday, but the way you jump balled that, where you got your hand on that ball at tip off, Fernando. I don't know if you did your stretches. I don't know if you stretched them hamstrings, but the way you jumped up and got that first question come through and asked such a good one. Let's listen to it real quick.
Bad. Yes, sir. God meant it for good. Amen. And this
hold on.
This trial and tribulations we're going through, Miss Amy, they say you can't have a testimony without a test.
Amen. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
We're gonna get justice for Jamal.
Amen.
Last question, ma'am.
No, that's not. Okay, real quick, let me just straighten that up. That's not dismissive. I don't know what were you Amy and Deacon? He's a deacon. No. Are you talking about when Crump? Yeah. No, I don't. Either way, deacon is a mark of distinction. Yeah, and I'm gonna admit this real quick. Please don't get mad at me. Please don't get upset with me, y'all. Last night too, I had a meeting, a dope ass meeting, with fellow organizers. If you're white and you see something that black people are doing, like, ask a question first. Because I got real short patience for like throwing out things like I think there is something, even with the bell hooks, the conversation. When a black person brings like a black scholar, black person, if there's some kind of customs or norms or language that you're not familiar with, white people ask a question, but please don't like assume anything. And I just want to leave it there. Don't get upset, but it's been happening so frequently that like white sensibilities kind of being projected on black things. Like that's the thing that I think a lot of well-meaning white people do, is that when we bring you into the space, because there is solidarity, because there is love, there is a shared acceptance. I think sometimes that assimilation thing that y'all have, where y'all expect a certain level of assimilation or congealed. I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying to do this really, really diplomatically. But if you don't know something about church culture, if you don't know anything about like how black people show up and speak truth to power, just ask the question. But it's not dismissive to call a black man deacon, right? Okay. I don't know what's going on, but. Yeah, I just want to say that. Showing tremendous respect, and also too with civil rights lawyers, like Crump, he's doing something, and I don't have time to break this down. Yeah, I don't have time to break this down, but this is why you get a civil rights lawyer versus the ambulance chaser, right? Crump is striking certain notes that black people, we hear. White people use dog whistles to summon the violent factions. We use certain cultural notes to tap into people's emotional stores. Does that make sense? So if you don't understand how something that's done, I saw the environmentalist comments too about the balloon release. Fuck the balloon release. Seriously, fuck that real quick. We're talking about somebody's life. Right, we're talking about the loss of a black man. I don't care about the latex balloons used. You feel what I'm saying? Like, just it's not the time and place to. We have to, of course, we have to move and do multiple things at once. But when we're in community with black people, and when black people are leading a conversation about race and justice, it's super important that you don't assign your own white sensibilities to what you're seeing. And it's also super important to not anticipate assimilation or some sort of like just that type of solidarity where. Like, you know, like your values are not going to be the values that we center. Does that make sense? Yeah. Check the whiteness at the door. How about that? Yeah. And it comes from people who I love and I respect. But like it happened with the bell hooks thing too. Like, no, like listen to this lady, what she's trying to say. Listen to what she's trying to say. It happened last night on a call. Like, you know, hey, I got this idea where I can make this thing and then all the black people can be invited to it. No, we want to center what they need and what they want. That kind of thing. Quadro, you just said something in the chat before I proceed. So glad you addressed that. I was going to, but your show, Deacon, it's a black thing. It's a very, and like Kia said, like Joni, I think, or not Joni, it might have been Denise yesterday. It was Courtney. Courtney picked up on it too. There's a lot of things that we don't explain to y'all because we're not going to. There's a lot of things that we don't explain to y'all that are being done that you won't ever know because you weren't raised up in black community and black church. I was raised by 2 Southern Baptists. So the call and response, somebody called out the AME culture, the Baptist culture, all that was front and center. And him calling him deacon instead of Mr. Sutherland, that was very strategic and effective. Right. Right, the Southern Baptist thing, and some of that is, Justin, to that point, some of that is transferable, right? Right, okay, but like traditional feminists and other stuff, y'all, that's not being centered right now. But anyway, I want to get to Fernando's question. I hope it was received in the spirit it was given. But Quadro, thank you for co-signing because I know I wasn't crazy.
You're pursuing besides going through the Attorney General.
Okay, no, that's not the question. Fernando was the first question. Fernando was the first question. Rewind. Yeah. When she took off her mask. Yeah. Here we go. Fernando asked an exceptional question. Wait, hold up. Make sure. Oh, yeah. She gave her emotional speech. And she stepped back. And then Crump took to the podium. Yeah. Okay, D, I see. I got you.
Thank you, Amy Sutherland. Thank you. We're going to take a few of your questions, and then we're going to have the families who come release.
Yeah, unless I misread it. That's all. It's all good. Water under the bridge. Let's go. We're good.
For Jamal. Any questions?
Here we go.
For any of the family members or the attorneys?
We're representing people of color here in the Low Country. You spoke about. Thank you. You spoke about the solicitor not having any communication at the beginning of this case last summer. The previous attorney said that he had pretty good connections with the solicitor. Is there any contact with him anyway?
So Fernando's asking. I don't know if y'all can hear because I can't gauge how well you can hear the audio that I'm listening to, and it's pretty low in my ears, and I have my headphones turned up pretty loud. But Fernando's asking about the previous legal team and their connections to Scarlett, because that was one of the things that Mark Pepper and those there, one of the things that he kept promoting or he made clear in any type of public setting, his connection with the solicitor and how that actually was a positive for this family in the case. So he's asking about the statements, asking for clarity. Fernando is asking for clarity on, that relationship between the prosecutor's office and the previous legal team led by widely reported it's not criminal, it's not alleged. Mark Pepper, who was knocked for cocaine possession and then had his charges, I believe, dropped or some shit like that. But that's not alleged. They printed that in the Post and Courier.
Obviously, you guys have come and taken over the case. But is there any way to? I'll say it.
She's saying I'll say it.
Well,
you could tell Crump was going to be diplomatic about the previous legal team.
Know what happened in the past, but obviously the Sutherlands know, so I think they may be able to address that question.
When that speech was made, it was not without consent. She's been cruel to us from the beginning. That was not us.
We didn't get that.
I need you to know we got new attorneys. Oof. That was not my family's words, because we knew that she was not going to do the right thing. That's not our word.
And that's how the family was talking. Quadro can remember. That's how the family was talking early when they couldn't get no leeway, when they couldn't get any of the tapes released, when they couldn't get any attention. This is exactly the tone and tenor that we heard from the Sutherland family. So I'm glad she made it real clear, crystal clear to y'all. She made it crystal clear to the public that we got new representation.
Straight from the people who know best what happened in the early stages. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Blair Sable with Live 5 News. So we did reach out to
Okay.
the General's office about.
So that's just Channel 5. I just really wanted to lift up Fernando because his journalism, is the one we're gonna be lifting up, especially in Black History Month. You feel me? Yeah. Joy, you said in the chat, Fernando tossed it out. And Miss Amy, yeah, she knocked it out the park. Absolutely. And I think it's really important, too. There was another part, too, when Crump. Oh, right. This question right here, maybe from Live 5 News. So the question is asking about reaching out to the Attorney General. Let's just listen to Crump's response, and I think we'll get, even if you can't hear the question, you'll hear it.
And did not intend to file any charges. I believe your co-counsel mentioned something about the U.S. Attorney General's office. So do you have any sort of statement, or would you like to speak to them directly at this time?
No, we'll make a statement. Ahmaud Arbery's father is here.
What?
Marcus Arbery. You know what they said for...
Listen. 11
months and 42 days to them? Nothing was going to happen.
Yep.
But when the people united, will never be defeated. We will go to that Attorney General, we will go to the Solicitor, and we will keep showing up. You know, they said that slavery would never be abolished. The people kept going. They said Jim Crow would never be abolished. The people kept standing up.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep standing up for justice for Jamal. Go tell the Attorney General that.
So, like, they'll keep telling you what they can't do, right? They told you that they couldn't take down the Calhoun statue. They kept telling you that the city kept telling us for years to our faces in some instances that, they don't own the property, they can't take it down. And they went on and on. I think, let me not cut it off at Reverend Rivers, because I think what he said here was powerful as well.
I am from
this is important.
South Carolina.
That's right.
A senator told me in 2000.
Quadra already addressed this yesterday.
The flag would never come down.
I can read your mind.
And I told him, Senator, you don't know me. I'm from the land of never.
That's right.
I'm from Charleston, South Carolina.
Yep.
They told me I'd never ride on the bus. I do. They told me I would never go to the Citadel. I do. They told me I'd never go to the College of Charleston. I do. They told me that flag would never come down. It did. And they told me John C. Calhoun would still be standing. He is gone. We don't care nothing about what he said. We're going to fight because we know he's favoring, because he's got to do justice or he got to be gone.
Right. So what's important to understand here, and goes to that whole point of like, of the whole like, hey, hey, white people, you might not understand everything you're seeing. This is also in line with a civil rights tradition, leveraging the church and knowing shit. Like we love Cajun, right? We looked up Cajun. Cajun does great things around the Nehemiah action. Cajun can get entire Mount Moriah. If you ever been inside Mount Moriah, that church, that sanctuary is huge. Cajun get the whole Mount Moriah filled up, including the top upper deck, right? Right, but Cajun is following in the tradition of Black church organizing. Cajun is following the traditions that were set forth by the original traditions set by churches, like the original Mother Emanuel in its many iterations, right? And so this leveraging of course, civil rights leaders, and Reverend Rivers is a civil rights leader. Him evoking certain phrases, him centering faith, that is important. That is important. Even when I heard this, I had so many child flashbacks, y'all. I had so many church flashbacks. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of Miss Amy Sutherland's emotional, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching comments. I'm gonna go back and play it here.
A daddy and a daughter, they say there's no stronger bond than a mother and a son. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, Jamal Sutherland's mother, Miss Amy Sutherland. Yeah, let's gather around her.
She was like, I'm not going to use this mic.
God, who's the head of my life.
Listen to this. Ooh.
I want to do what my son do. I want to thank.
This is not Fernando's feed. Fernando's feed was real smooth. But listen to this, though. I want you to hear something.
Families that thought it not robbery to come.
That's church. Who thought it not robbery. That's church.
Staying here with us. Yeah. God is not pleased with what's going on in the state.
This is powerful because this is the holy city, right? Come on, why do we call it that? We know the basic history behind it, but I think it's also powerful that she's saying that and centering Christ, centering her faith in this fight for justice for her son.
And I'm going to do it because I want to do it. Scarlett! Do the right thing. I can't.
Any other place, that would be the headline news.
Take this anymore. We have to get justice. This state is one of the only states that can hold a black man down, murder him, and you walk out the jail. They should have took Jamal out that cell and entered them into the same cell they murdered him in. But because we live down south, we get nothing.
This is important.
My sister left this place a long time ago. She said it was prejudice. I said, no, it ain't that bad. I'm a liar. It's that bad and worse.
My Lord.
Because my child is gone and he ain't bothered nobody.
My Lord.
I want y'all to look around and see who don't know somebody with some mental illness.
This is important.
But how many people say, Mom, I need to go to the doctor? Mom put me in the hospital, I'm sick. My son has been gone for 2 birthdays. Not 1 year, 2 birthdays.
And what's so powerful about this, what are some big takeaways that some of the local reporting missed? And I'm a pop out to, I think Live 5. I think I want to do that next. Yeah. What's important about what she just said and what she continued to say, and I said this yesterday, it's not coaching. It's not coaching that she also receives from, even though they do prepare, the civil rights lawyers like Crump and all the others, they do prepare their clients well to show up in the best way for the cameras and whatnot, right? So I'm not gonna lie to you and gaslight you and saying that there's no preparation. But what they've done is the word I like to use, and I used it yesterday, empowered. They've empowered the Sutherland family, most notably Miss Amy. They've empowered her to use language. They've empowered her to stand on her faith and to use that. They've empowered her to speak freely. There's a very, very clear, difference. I'm gonna go back to recent reporting, but remember last year the press conference, right, with Mark Pepper. Let me see if I can find it. It always pops up when I don't. Let me see. Let me see if that comes up. No. I'm trying to find the old press conference, but remember the old press conference with the sorry, I'm about to offend somebody friend, but remember with all the usual suspects. I ain't gonna say the word I want to use. Conference. It was right outside, the one that was out, and having the press conference at Al Cannon too. I don't know. I think that's negligible. That's not a big deal. But I thought that was whack. I'm not having a press conference outside where my son died. I guess it's powerful there, but I don't want to know how Al Cannon. I'm just trying to find it on YouTube. I know I can find it other places. What was this? 8 months ago. That's me talking shit. That solicitor not doing shit. But y'all remember that other press conference, right? That where Mark Pepper had Miss Amy's hand in her hand, right here. Right.
Say is that because of some things that are being put out, I feel
now she's always been passionate. She's always been honest. She's always been, you always got how much she and Jamal, the relationship between the two, right? We've always seen that, right? But what you see here is completely different. Do y'all see the difference? Y'all see the difference? Now you got family members from Walter Scott's family there, but it's a very different press conference. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? Shout out for what's up with the stiff hug. Fernando. I just saw you. Sorry, homie. Yeah, right. And Quadra, to your point about it's not that bad, that really jumped out to me too. But you see the difference? You see the difference in the press conference, just optically, right? Right, with that stiff ass. You didn't say ass, but I did. Yeah. Hey, Fernando, if you want, you can call my phone. Bluetooth is set up. If you're up, no screen time. You can just call. We can do a Bluetooth call if you want. Gentle invite, because I would love to ask you questions about what you saw out there. While you were attending and things that we didn't get because the Post and Courier didn't do as good a job as Caitlin Bird. Wanted to read Caitlin's story too, but I wanted you to see the differences between the press conferences, right? Okay, 5 minutes. He's like, dang girl, can I drink my coffee and just watch? All right, but no. I wanted to go to Live 5 News and get their coverage of it yesterday, and then we're going to get the solicitor and Graziano's response. That's something I don't want to end the live stream without covering what they said in response to. It's very cold-hearted, as mother Amy Sutherland has said. It's very, very cold-hearted responses, and that's how it works. Easily and automatically. I'm gonna turn it down. While the ad plays. But it says civil rights attorney Crump. We're going to keep standing up for justice for Jamal. So this is Live 5 News coverage. We already saw Riley Benson's coverage. He did a decent job. But here we go.
More than a year after the death of an inmate at the Al Cannon Detention Center. At the time he died, Jamal Sutherland had been at the jail for hours after he was arrested on a misdemeanor charge at a North Charleston facility for mental health. It happened as 2 deputies were trying to forcefully remove him from a cell to go to bond court. He was tased multiple times and his death was ruled a homicide. The Charleston County deputies who tased him, Sergeant Lindsay Fickett and Deputy Brian Houle,
it's hard to watch this footage.
No charges have been filed in the case. Solicitor Scarlett Wilson has said that she couldn't prove criminal.
Can I just say that, like that moment where we just saw Jamal sitting right here?
No charges have been.
There are so many moments in the footage that's really difficult to watch, right? Fernando, please call it. There's so many moments that are hard to watch, but there also so many moments where I see where they could have administered aid. Like they have him seated there. Why couldn't they call a healthcare professional? Why couldn't they call a doctor? Why couldn't they have someone like just come and kneel down and talk to him? Why couldn't they flank him with nurses, right? Nurses who specialize in maybe not, you know, I'm hesitant to use the word subdue, but you know what I'm trying to say, to help him if he does let. Now he's handcuffed behind his back, so what can he do, right? He's handcuffed behind his back. You know, it's just so many times where they could have intervened and it could have had a better outcome. So many times.
Solicitor Scarlett Wilson has said that she couldn't prove criminal intent on the part of the deputies. Sutherland's family, though, and their attorney, Ben Crump, say that is unacceptable. Our Blair Sable was at a news conference outside of Solicitor Wilson's office this afternoon. And Blair, they're still calling for this a full year later.
Yeah, Lisa, that's right. And it's really an emotionally charged case. On this day a year ago, Jamal Sutherland's family buried him before what would have been his 32nd birthday. So before they wrapped things up here, they sang him happy birthday. They released balloons and even had a cake for him. But first, the family...
That bringing a cake thing, my mom did that. Like growing up, she used to always have cakes for like, for Jesus on Christmas. She would go get a sheet cake. Say happy birthday, Jesus. It's like a thing. Let's go get that sheet cake. Okay.
Alongside their attorney, Ben Crump, were joined with the families of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Daunte Wright, each standing in solidarity and promising to push for change despite the exhaustion that they say comes from having to learn of yet another family losing a loved one in custody in this manner. Now, each one of those cases has been resolved in the last year with a guilty verdict in court, and perhaps the most passionate plea today
Here we go. Hold up.
Sutherland's
I'm
mother,
going to pause the TV at audio, Fernando. I'm going to up the volume on the phone. Fernando, you there? Oh. Don't got you on Bluetooth for some reason. Let's get you on Bluetooth. Hold up. There we go. Mic check, Fernando. 1, 2, what is this?
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Oh, hear you perfectly. Let me give you some round of applause. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let some B-roll play, I guess, or some footage from the news conference play as you talk. But I wanted you to